in the first half of this game. The Cowboys get a very timely interception to close it out. A late touchdown brings the game back to reality, and then they find a way to come out in the second half and just decimate all. Some of the high notes, Ollie Gordon was once again incredible. He's got 25 carries for 164 yards. Alan Bowman really pulled it together in the second half of the game. 29 of 43, 348 yards and 2 touchdowns, which was incredible to see him bounce back after the early pick six. Brendan Presley, almost a record-breaking day. I'm sad to see they didn't get it for him, as he was so close to really making history in this ball game. Just an incredible performance by that young man, as he had 15 receptions for 189 yards and no touchdowns, long as it was 27. But he was fantastic and really one of the best possession receivers I think you're going to find in the country. Love watching that kid get out there and compete. Well, a win is a win is a win. I think there's a lot of Oklahoma State fans out there that are a little frustrated in regards to, just how the team showed up. A Big 12 championship is very much still on the line for Oklahoma State coming into this game. Obviously, that Iowa State game against Texas tonight will have a big, a play in whether the Cowboys get that opportunity or not. And they still got to beat BYU here next week. But it just seemed like the energy level had just been sucked out, right? Like they just seemed so complacent and just kind of in a position where they didn't necessarily care, coming into the game, which that can't be true because you don't get to play 40 football games. You get to play a handful in comparison to what you're seeing in college basketball or softball or baseball. Like you don't get a ton of opportunities to get up, get excited, and ready to play. So I'm sure the student athletes were fired up. I don't know what the message was this week of practice or how they performed leading into the game, but it very much did look like they just weren't as engaged as maybe you would have hoped, considering everything that's on the line this season. As far as Mike Gundy is concerned, halftime adjustments, I've said this before about him. He's one of the best you're going to find. I think they went into halftime, came up with a plan. For some reason, Ollie Gordon didn't get the amount of touches that you would have liked to see him get in the first half. Obviously, that was a halftime adjustment as he came out in the second half and was a completely different animal. That offensive line performed extremely well in the second half of the game, and they did what they've done for the majority of this season. Ball control football. Bowman made big throws when he needed to. Presley made big catches when he needed to. And Gordon, the workhorse of the team, absolutely did that. At one point, I even tweeted out that or X'd out that I thought they should have taken him out of the game because he looked like he was dragging a leg a little bit. And even right after I said that, I think the dude had a 35-yard drive and scored a touchdown. And then the very next drive after that, there was a long touchdown run. I'm pretty sure it was 62 yards that he ran. I'm like, what a machine Ollie Gordon is. What an incredible weapon he is with this football team. And this is, you would have hoped that they would have got the ball to him early in the game. I'm blown away by this team and the way that they continue to find a way to win. Houston came out and gave them their best shot. I think this is one that Dana Holgorsen wants every single time he gets a chance to play against Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State. So, he put the work in as far as preparation and coaching his team up. They came out and threw a couple of punches. Cowboys ate them and found a way to overcome and bounce back. I said it about the Sooners earlier today, and I'll say it about Oklahoma State. Good teams find a way to win, and a good football team, Oklahoma State, found a way to win against a Houston that came into this game at 4-5. So big time performance from Oklahoma State, big time performance from the players to find a way to get it done. It was not pretty, but at the end of the day, they found a way to win, and the ball's still in their corner in regards to championship football they can potentially play here in a few weeks. What a wild season is for Oklahoma State. 7-3, 5-2 in conference. Ollie Gordon is the best player in the conference. Mike Gundy talking about potentially another an 8-win season, looking at potentially 9. Just a wild ride considering how they started with back-to-back losses to Iowa State and a South Alabama team that people just it was the worst loss in 20 years for Oklahoma State, and they found a way to get themselves to where they're at right now. So big time performance by Oklahoma State today to find a way to win. Interception at the end of the first half seemed to energize the defense, and Ollie's slant route followed by 6-yard touchdown seemed to give the confidence that we hadn't seen since Bedlam. Yeah, no, it absolutely snapped them out of it. There's no doubt about it. You get all of a sudden that huge momentum swing is just unbelievable. You don't believe that they're going to be able to find. Let's say Houston scores there, right? this is game over, right? It's a game over situation. Like no way they come back from that. All of a sudden, it feels a little bit more like UCF. That interception and then that following touchdown to make the score reasonable going into halftime was absolutely huge for Oklahoma State. So yeah, I mean, what a game, and at the end of it, they just looked to be overwhelming Houston. I'm like, where was this team in the first half? Like, you went from looking like someone that didn't belong to just grounding and pounding. I mean, Houston was struggling defensively into that game. Oklahoma State was doing everything they wanted to do in a run game, and Ollie Gordon's out there with one leg, which is insane to me, that he was able to do what he did on the ground after the performance that he had last week. I question whether he should have been in the game, especially to close it out the very last drive. Like that kid, he's such a special player. Obviously, the injury that he has is not significant, or you would hope that Mike Gundy wouldn't be putting him out there over and over and over again, just on one leg. He seems like he's protecting himself and protecting the leg, so I've got no problem with it. But what an incredible player he is, and what an incredible weapon he's been for Coach Gundy and the Oklahoma State Cowboys this season. Other guys that really showed out, Rashad Evans, I thought had a great game. It's good to see Leon Johnson III performing well. Just a couple of balls for him, but one was the big touchdown catch, 21 yards. They've got a nice receiving core, and some of these guys will be back next year and looking to improve this football team. So Cowboys win 43-30. There's not a whole lot to say about it. I mean, Houston coming into it they're not a good football team. And the fact that they started the way they did was crazy. But they snapped back out of it. So I don't even know what to think about this football team after the last two performances. First UCF, then this one. BYU to close out the season, which BYU played their tails off against Oklahoma today to make it interesting. At least the Cowboys, I believe, have that one at home. So Chaz is 100% right. Big welcome back to Jaden Bray tonight, who went out there and had that touchdown reception. He looked good, looked healthy, which is great. The Oklahoma State receiving corps is pretty talented. Like, that's a pretty talented group. It was Nick Saban, I think, who said maybe 5-10 years ago something about, you want your receiving corps to look like a basketball team, right? Somebody that's your point guard, that would be a Brennan Presley, and everybody, you want to have each position out there. Every receiver should just be a little bit different. If you look at Oklahoma State's roster, I think he's got a mixed bag of guys out there that all do things better. Some things better than the other ones, but when you put them all together, there's a ton of weapons out there for Bowman to get involved. And give Alan Bowman a lot of credit. A gritty performance from him once again. I don't know what it is about that kid's throwing motion that makes me gasp every time he lets the ball out of his hand. I think it's going to somebody else, but he finds a way to compete. He finds a way to move the ball down the field. I think his average per pass has been getting better each and every game. He's taking more shots down the field, which is good to see. But yeah, he was great to close it out, find a way to get it done. And defensively, you got to give up in the second half. They really stifled this Houston offense, who was having a bunch of success early. Oklahoma State's defense came out and put their foot down, and Houston seemed to struggle to move the ball for the entire second half of the game. So good teams win games like this. Good teams also don't show up the way they did, but good teams do find a way to win, and Oklahoma State found a way to win. I can take a couple more questions. Chaz, thank you so much for being active in the chat. I appreciate it. Like I said, man, I mean, it was first half was one story. The second half was something completely different. But the Cowboys found a way to get it done. So, all right, big thank you to you guys for joining me for this quick Oklahoma State Houston post game. That game seemed like it dragged out for 7 hours. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I'm going to go post up and turn on Kansas State, turn on Iowa State and Texas, and see how the Big 12 is going to fold out for the rest of the season. Big thank you to you guys for following me. Big thank you for some liking and subscribing. I really appreciate it. It really helps me out when you do those things. Also follow me on Twitter and all of my social medias at All American Maze. I really appreciate the interaction. You guys really bring a different perspective of these things. So when you ask me questions, it makes me think a different way. So once again, thank you so much for joining me this season, and look forward to closing this thing out. Have a good one, guys.